Hey everyone, welcome back to Agent Talk. Today my guest is Mickey Haslavsky. This dude is amazing, 30 years old, 3 companies. He's built 2 platforms. His first one was Rapid API, basically changed how developers use APIs and created a marketplace for that. So if you ever build connected systems, you probably use them at some point. And then he started Enso. And now he's building agents for the little people, agents for everybody. And he has agents for whatever you're doing, he has an agent for it. So for the rest of the people who don't have the big budgets, he has an agent that he charges $49 per month, flat rate, and he makes a big margin. Today, we're going to find out why and how he does it and how his contrarian view on LLMs is printing him money right now. And he's growing like a weed. So happy to have you here, Mickey.
Wow, I love this introduction so much, Manny. Thank you so much.
I was blown away when you Sequoia introduced us and you just came out and was like, I don't know what everybody else is doing. I am printing money over here. So tell me more. Tell everyone how is that you do this trick of yours.
Wow. So let's start with the mission. So our mission at Enso is to reduce the prices of services, just in general, for small businesses. The biggest problem small businesses have is budgets, because in most cases they don't have a lot of time and they don't have a lot of money to do things. So when I realized that AI agents can basically reduce prices of regular services that they consume for thousands of dollars and sell it for a fraction of the cost, that became my life mission. And I love it because both of my parents have small businesses, and it was like a big thing for me since I was very young. And I think,
and your brother is an entrepreneur too. So you guys, when you see a problem, you just go and start a company around. Is that how you do it in your family?
Exactly. That's how we do it. That's how we do it. But he's in higher education, which is a much harder space than AI agents.
It's a higher calling too, but
That's true. Yeah. And then, we just realized that LLMs are going to be very basic thing and will commoditize over time. So we realized that if we build a model that is basically riding the wave of the prices of LLMs going down, we can accomplish the mission of reducing services. And that's how we launched Enso.
So the thing that you did not mention that I want to unpack here is that you've been using Chinese LLMs before it was hot, before DeepSeek, before everyone was talking about it. So walk us through the journey of you went into this box of used shit and you found this cheap LLMs that did the job adequately for you and for your customers, and you went all hog out for it, and now you're winning. Tell us more on how's that working out for you?
We didn't plan to use specific LLMs. We couldn't care if they're Chinese or Japanese or Vietnamese or American or it's not the thing. We're more thinking about how do you just reduce price, because our mission is to reduce price of services. So we've been using any possible open source, closed source, all the way from OpenAI to very hosted llama to Hugging Face open source projects, everything that will reduce the price of usage of an agent and will turn the agents to be smart enough to accomplish the task we wanted to accomplish. So if it needs to create social media content, it doesn't mean we need a robust LLM that can do everything in the world. We can use a smaller version that somebody built somewhere open source and then reduce the prices. So when DeepSeek became a thing and became available, it was not very surprising. We could have sensed that it goes there because everybody are building those and it's everywhere. So that's basically how we're thinking about it.
That's amazing. Are you taking advantage that maybe the bar your customers have is a little bit lower than say an enterprise grade, and that's what you're driving your?
Yeah, absolutely. That's the game. Think about it. So if you are a travel agency from Tampa, Florida, and you need a bunch of leads every month because you're B2B. You need some social media content because you need to inspire the world to work with you. You need some email marketing. You need all of this kind of stuff. You usually don't really need to integrate it with 10,000 siloed systems within a long process and all of this and SOC compliance and all these stuff that enterprises need. You just need to get things done, and you usually don't have the money / resources to get it done. So that's basically where we're trying to fit into. And it works very well because, we're trying to build something that is as easy as possible for the end consumer to use from one end, but it's as cheap as possible on the other end to process. So that's basically the game we play. And then that's why we launched now. So our first version was you would pay per agent. You would pay somewhere between $59 a month to $79 was the most expensive one for SEO per month. And you would pay one by one. Now we reduce the price into like a Netflix model where you just pay one flat fee and you're forever going to have an unlimited amount of AI agents. And this is also the same kind of psychology, because as a small business, the chances of you abusing the system or like overusing it is just low, because you're
busy operating your business. You don't have time to like prompt engineer this thing,
and you're
right?
busy. So the chances of this happening is low, and that's why this model works so well. And then we're able to accomplish the mission of Enso, and yes, that's the absolutely is the game.
That's amazing. So what's a big unlock as you grow? What is ahead of you to world domination?
So up until now, we've been releasing agents that were built by Enso. We call it Enso Originals, and yeah, I mean, and that's
Netflix model. You're running with it all the way. Right?
I love it. I love Netflix. I love the way they run the company. So a lot of inspiration there. But these are the stuff that we've built, and now we launched like 300 agents, smaller agents that we broke down into tasks, which you can get from the subscription. We just opened the door to developers, and when I say developers, it's not like pure. So we have a very close relationship with LangChain, which is a large framework for agent development, But we are going to open as well any possible no-code automation platform to be able to sell all types of AI agents, workflows, and etc. on Enso. So Zapier, Make, N8N, Postman, like anything you can think about using for automation, all of these experts will be able to sell on Enso. We're literally like about to release it in a week or two. And this is big because there's a huge economy of those consultants that doing automation, but they don't have the way to sell them. So our next challenge is basically turning Enso into a marketplace. And that's most of the focus goes there.
That's incredible. So you went from selling agents made by you to SMBs to solve a problem to now creating a marketplace of other people selling agents to your customer base, and to now developing a visual no-code, low-code interface for somebody else to develop agents using Enso's technology primarily to sell into your customers.
Yes, but we don't want to be good at building agents. We don't want to be good at providing tools for building agents, because there are hundreds of those potentially going to be popping up in the market in the next year. We are really interested in solving the problem of monetization and distribution, because if you have a really good AI agent right now, the only way for you to monetize it is to raise money. And 100%. That is wrong. We do think that those micro SaaS AI agents can be sold in the marketplace, and that's where we want to be.
That's awesome. So there is other marketplaces sprouting out right now, right? You have HubSpot, you have Salesforce talking about it, even OpenAI has a little marketplace. What's your angle? What's your different?
So I'm a big fan of Dharmesh and Agent AI and everything he has done. Agentforce is is very much enterprise thing. What we're trying to do, and I think Agent AI is also very much still, at least it feels technical. We're trying to make it like, the Windows of the space, right? Because you can build applications. Now the question is where you run. So we want to be the operating system where you run these AI agents. And it's hard for the end consumer to even understand what an AI agent is. So a lot of our work around UI and like marketing is just explaining to the small business that they can now outsource like a huge chunk of their business, 50, 60% of their business, to a bunch of AI agents. And for this to work, the user experience must be like very simplified. So that's our end goal. That's where we want to be excellent at.
So I run a travel agency in Tampa, Florida. I got 5 people working for me. Enso shows up, and now you're doing my social media. You're doing my SEO. You're posting for me. You're putting some Instagram photos. Who's losing the job?
I don't buy this story of losing a job. I just, I've never heard.
Somebody's doing it, right? They're already doing it. Somebody's doing it for them. So you're replacing other agencies. Like, you can't say, I'm an agency that did not exist and I'm doing all this work. Other agencies are not doing it. The question is somebody inside the company losing a job.
We're looking at this in a completely different angle, okay? I don't believe that people will literally lose jobs. I think those who are not using AI, which is like a common thing, will be behind. But by the end of the day, you would be very happy if your employees could do X more. Every business would. Like, productivity is a thing. I think what's really important about this, and that's what I'm excited about the most, is those who couldn't afford an agency before. Who couldn't pay $3,000 for an SEO, who couldn't pay $5,000 for a designer to do their social media. like an entire market that was untapped. Nobody could use it even because you would either have to hire somebody and that would cost you a ton, or you wouldn't do it at all. And that's where we focus. Like, I mean, I really don't, and I don't think AI is mature enough, by the way, to like replace humanity. Very a moonshot.
Yeah.
So that's most of our focus.
Yeah, Satya said the same thing in that interview with Rakesh last week. And I think you're right. I think that what you are doing is making it available to people who didn't have it available before and were struggling, frankly, to grow their businesses. So what is your, if for all the, want-to-be preneurs out there that are building agents in their garages and trying to figure out how to, reach escape velocity, what's your advice? Other than just go post on the Enso market.
For monetization, yes. I mean, Enso is great because we have millions and millions of dollars to help them promote their agents. So don't do it alone. We're happy to help you. But I think my biggest advice is actually not on the monetization side, but on the development side. And I think we discussed that right before the podcast. People are trying to build these massive multi-agentic systems that would try to conquer the world in a very not evil way.
Right, because there's no evil ways to conquering the world, right?
Exactly. And I think that's what we realized is wrong because of many technical limitations, including what we discussed called compound hallucinations, which is basically how agents over time are just, passing wrong information to each other and etc. But by the end of the day, you can see the more you squeeze the work that the agent does, the better it does the results, the better the higher the quality. So I would actually give an advice to build smaller agents, sell them in smaller pieces, but at least to make sure that they can maintain quality, because that sucks. I mean, you don't want to buy an agent and then it starts, coming up with some story about the BS kind of stuff over time. And you're like, I don't understand, like what's going on. You want to be very concise. And that is very, very important. By the way, you've mentioned the OpenAI, and I'm sorry for saying this, but I think OpenAI did not do a good job on the GPT store because it was never broken into needs and solution. It looks more like a playground. And as a business owner or as a non-sophisticated, non-tech savvy person, the chances of you actually getting value from the marketplace is low because the chances of finding something that will be valuable is lower. So that's some of the stuff that we're trying to fix. But again, it's one of the largest markets in the world. There are 200 million SMBs in the world. We make $1 million in annual recurring revenue on every 2,000 customers. So the market is like insanely
massive.
Infinite.
Yeah.
So, if everybody will just solve problems for SMBs, I'll be happy anyways.
So do you plan to get out of the business of building AI agents at some point and just let the community build it for you? And then all you're doing is spinning up the demand side to keep the community busy, and that creates a true viral marketplace?
We
like
created
eBay or whatever?
We created like a page. You can see it under Enso/developers. We created like a request for an agent page where when SMBs are requesting agents, we're passing them to the community so they know what to build. In some cases, if we see that people don't build for some reason, some of the agents, we are picking them up ourselves. We will keep building agents because we like it and we're doing it well and we give inspiration to others. The long tail is so long. Like there's so many agents you can build for any industry, any need, any profession, any type of work that the chances of us covering that is zero. And that's why we created the marketplace. So yeah, we are planning to make it as an e-commerce experience for everybody. But we do want to seed the marketplace with as many agents we can see bringing value as possible. That's what brings the demand of people buying the subscription, which brings the supply of builders who are adding the supply to the marketplace. So it's part of the flywheel.
How do you maintain quality in a marketplace that is designed to be cheap? You know what I mean? And I'm not saying cheap in the terms of quality. I'm saying cheap in terms of price, which is brilliant because it makes it affordable, but it's cheap. So how do you prevent the race to the bottom of this?
It's cheap because electricity is cheap, not because we are making it cheap. We believe that the price will go down because LLMs are just basic. It's like you're paying for your web connection. It's whatever, $10 a month. That's what it's going to cost at some point because the demand is extremely high and everybody are trying to solve it in any possible way. But, quality means a customer getting what they are intended to get out of this. So as long as the agents are small and they know what to do exactly very, very well, that's where quality for us. I don't see a problem there. I mean, as for the marketplace, we're going to do a very similar experience to what the Apple or the Google App Store are doing, which is long reviews, making sure that people are building good stuff because you're paying a subscription and you're getting all of them and curate it. But it is just part of how you build a marketplace. I think that's not the special part. I think the hardest part is how do you cover enough long tail? And how do you give, so for example, we had, wedding planners reaching out with very specific lead generation needs that I would never even think about, like in any world. The question is, how do you bring a developer that understands this need now and actually build this agent? And that's where I think the hardest part right now is just matching those needs with the supply.
How are you doing that? How are you matching needs of an infinite supply of needs?
So there are two ways to do that. Either in a very non-scalable way, actually, actually matching those people together and saying, hey, this person needs X, you have knowledge Y.
I see your Calendly. It's pretty busy. So you're probably doing this a lot manually, right?
Yeah, that's because I'm not very efficient. So that's number one. Number two, and that's something that we're going to do forever, is this request for an agent page where we just explain in a very detailed way. Here's a community of X people that were searching for Y things. Here's why this is urgent for them. And here are the APIs/tools that you need to build it. Any developer that picks this up, here's a business for you.
Got it.
Which is, by the way, and I think that's the most fascinating thing, like for me and you, people are coming from SaaS. For me, SaaS is pretty much dead. Like some of the agents that we're building, you would have to raise like a seed round like 3 years ago, like raise like $5 million and have a team of like 10 engineers to build them. And today with like a no-code thing, you're scrapping stuff together, it works. And this is blowing my mind because it means that in the next 5 years, all the vertical SaaS who were selling to lower market segments will have to go up. There will be a lot of consolidation in the enterprise space, and it will be extremely hard to build software as we know it. So that changes a lot.
That's incredible. So what happens in a world? What happens to OpenAI? What happens to Anthropic in a world where there are more Mickeys that are going around the world looking for cheap models that deliver the goods? And that China's going to step up to the plate, right? Like that DeepSeek moment got everyone had a brown spot in their pants for a little bit. You've been dealing with Chinese LLMs for a long time. So what future for the LLM?
I don't know if we even know what was the origin of the LLMs that we were using. It was just, different open source, different systems that we found. So DeepSeek is a great example. I think there's a new one now called Kimi. I didn't even check it, but somebody told me it's even cheaper. I don't know how cheap it's going to be, but like any big disruptor in the world, OpenAI created an entire space. I think, LLMs were there before. Google are having those patents from years back. I think the coolest thing is how the consumer is endorsing those LLMs and using them no matter how many errors they provide and etc. Where the big thing is, I don't know. I have zero idea how it's going to look like in the future, but I do think it's great for the consumer that more and more companies are competing for this because it takes, it's the first time you don't have to think yourself anymore. You have somebody to reach out to at any given moment. And this will turn any software into 1000x. And that's good for the world.
When you and I talked the first time, you were telling me how you're assembling these solutions, the agent solutions, right? By going around and seeing who will provide me the input that I need, right? So if I'm doing SEO, you integrate into SEMrush. If I'm doing, if I'm doing Instagram, you will go get a photo from a provider in, I think it was like Romania or Bulgaria, somewhere in the.
We're using Flux, we're using Pexels, we're using Unsplash. Yeah, we're using many, image generation models plus stock footage stuff.
So you have assembled this massive catalog of people who can do stuff for you. Is that how you provide in the marketplace, by making all that available to other builders so they can quickly get their products at the market? Is that the secret?
We don't do that. We're really good at picking the right APIs/right models to come up with the right agents to solve the right problems. That's basically how we were thinking about it. And then we were a lot of trial and error on different APIs, see what works, what provides the best SEO, what provides the best lead generation, what provides the best email marketing, whatever. I think what you see in the market right now, and all the way from Agent.ai Builder to NA10 to Zapier to Make to Postman to LangChain to Crew AI, all of those, that's what they do. So they really are focusing on giving you as many tools as possible to build whatever you want.
Yeah.
We don't know, we know what's best for the customers we have right now / the research we did, but then maybe Manny, because you're coming from the payment space or from any other space that you touched before, you say, hey, the best API, I've been working with PayPal API or like Stripe API, whatever, for 10 years. This is the best API I've ever worked with. And you're a professional in this, and you're going to create an agent using Postman AI builder, and then you're going to use this to store this on the marketplace. We don't judge this. We don't know because you're the professional. The problem will be, again, is that if you go and build with, which is a great no-code tool I use a lot, to build an AI agent, now is how you monetize them, how do you deploy them, how do you distribute them, how do you build an UI around them. That's what we want to solve. So it's less about giving you the tools, it's giving you the retail space.
Right. So you're the mall. You're the mall for the agents.
Or the operating system. But because again, I mean, even if you're building an AI agent, which is like great, but then you have to build a UI.
Right. That's right. That's right.
And that's weird. Why do you need to build a UI for every agent if the entire world is building like very similar agents? So that's the kind of stuff that we're trying to solve. It's very kind of framework on how you run agents, less how you build.
That's amazing. What controversial view do you hold? Other than, you already gave me like 10, but give me the spiciest one. What's the thing that you are thinking about in one direction and the world as well?
So first of all, I've been speaking to many VCs. Our horizontal view is weird, right? Because, there aren't many AI agent marketplaces in the world today. Most companies are going vertical. They're saying, hey, we're going to build an AI agent that does grant application, that does social media, that does whatever. We think that specifically SMBs are looking for good enough solutions because they need to cover some of the stuff. They don't look for excellency because they don't have the time to even understand what it means. And you can see it with wide software solutions such as QuickBooks or Wix or Upwork. Those are many solutions in one place that are good enough to cover as much space as possible because SMBs don't have the time to just work with so many softwares and like pick every vertical what's best for them. That's not the case. It is the case for enterprise, by the way. So that's controversial view number one. And we started with this. It brought a lot of attention. People still think I'm weird and still think that, vertical AI agents will win. We'll see over time. Number two, some people think that LLMs will hit some ground at some point. They won't go very low in price. I think it will go as low as possible and it will become the most commoditized product in the world because it's everywhere. And in economical systems, when there's so much demand for such stuff, at some point, people innovate in a way that optimize price to just make it accessible to people. That's number two. And number three, which is also controversial and people hate me about this, is I really think multi-agentic systems are not there yet. Building those huge workflows with 100 agents working in the same environment, I've never seen a single product that does well doing this. I did see at Enso and other places, smaller agents, more task-oriented, less goal-oriented, more task-oriented, that are just performing well, and they're still saving you my time and money. So you're good to go. So that's mainly the stuff.
Is that a here and now situation? Like, let's say for a minute that hallucination gets solved. Then will somebody come out and build this massive multi-agent, multi-workflow things? Or you still think that is too hard? For an SMB, I just want this one job done kind of well.
Again, SMBs would be very happy. So SMBs have two problems in like using these kind of systems. Number one is ideas. They don't know what is possible. One of the reasons we broke it into a catalog It's just to make it browsable. Here's what you can do. And that is very hard for like non-technical users because they're non-technical. They don't have the background of like, hey, if I connect an API X to API Y, then magic happens. They don't know what an API is. They just need to get things done.
Yeah.
And the second thing is having the access to this to literally like use it, right? Which is the UI part, which is important. Like people are saying, yeah, I remember when we started, people were like, everything will be possible in ChatGPT at some point. And I was like, I don't want to make presentations in ChatGPT, for example. It's not a good UI for this. I want to have something that is more playful. So I think, by the end of the day, you have to design it for the end consumer. If multi-agentic systems will be stable, that's great. We and many other companies will make it much more fun and easy and valuable to use. And we're trying to commit to the same price, which is $49 unlimited, forever growing supply of agents. But I don't think it's controversial. Some AI agents will be smaller and some AI agents will be more complex, but I do think it will be more appealing to larger companies.
Right. So last question. So the natural evolution of running an SMB business is high churn, right? By the definition of SMB, the longevity is a lot shorter than an enterprise. How do you deal with that? And what's your advice for those who want to get into the game of dealing with churn contraction and the SMB space?
One of the reasons I was working my ex off to make this $49 a month unlimited fee kind of model is because SMBs, they have very specific characteristics. Number one, the reason they churn. Why do you think SMBs churn?
Go out of business. They forgot that you were doing the work for them, and they turn off.
They're just pivoting a lot. That's reality. Right. Like we had a few that ran out of business, like literally closed the business. Most of them just changed it. And then once they changed it, the needs change, and that's why they churn.
Right.
So our model says, no matter what you need, you will forever have an infinite supply of solutions to everything you might need as a small business, no matter how many times you pivot as a small business. And our churn is very much driven by the idea that you won't go off of the subscription because you know that if you need something, you will find it at Enso. Right. You have it in the subscription. And if you need it, then probably we'll add it to the marketplace. And that's, I think, where the magic happens. And I think it supports the actual behavior because the behavior is not really running out of business. It's just they're not successful in this business. They're still entrepreneurs. They just want to change. And then for that reason, they don't need the specific software anymore. And I think whoever is building for SMBs, that's the number one insight I've learned in the past year. It's not running out of business. That's what everybody says. The reality is just changing direction, which is very natural in business. We do that as entrepreneurs all the time. You need to support that. And this really reduces churn.
That's amazing. I'm so excited we got to have this conversation, Mickey. Like,
absolutely, me too.
When we met, like you have nothing. When we met and I was telling you about the new project I was working on, like your first instinct is like, this is shit that will never work. I love that you always put it forward and we can always know how you're thinking about the world. And I think it's super important for people to know that there's a way to build a real business with real margins in the agentic world that solves a real problem. So I appreciate you for doing it.
Absolutely.
All right, brother. Good to see you. Thanks again.